When Bitcoin came along, I knew that people were going to start using it as money. While I was in prison, I actually got to learn a lot of interesting things. For the most part, prison's a really, really boring place with occasional moments of excitement. But if it's exciting in prison, it's bad excitement. It's not good excitement. But one of the prison rules there is that you are not allowed to buy or sell anything with anyone. It's against the prison rules there. But for anybody that studied economics, like trading with other human beings, that's what makes us human. It's our ability to trade with others. Like basically no other animal trades with anybody, but humans, that's how we've lifted ourselves up out of poverty and be able to build big giant hotels with video cameras and lights and microphones, and it's by trading with other people. Nobody is able to do that by themselves. And I had read Adam Smith, and he talks about the pin maker, and how he's able to make a bunch of pins by specializing his labor and only doing that, and then trading the pins with other people to get other things that he needs. And I had read about all this in the books, and I was pretty convinced by the books that, yeah, trade is how people make their lives better off. But then in prison, I got to see firsthand, there was this entire prison economy of people trading with each other, and people specialized in their one specific thing, and then they would trade with other people for the other things they need. And so like an example of that, there was another guy I was friends with, his name was Jeff. Jeff figured out how to fix things, like fix electronics. You were allowed to buy a AM, FM Walkman radio thing from the prison commissary, and you could listen to the radio, but the volume switch on these things would always break right away. Well, Jeff figured out how to fix these things. He'd use a clothes iron, like iron clothes. He'd get access to that, and then heat up some solder and somehow fix the little switch on the radio for the volume. And nobody else in the prison knew how to fix those switches, but he would trade his service of fixing people's switches to somebody else, and there was an entire economy. Certain people would do laundry, other people would do cooking. If you want to get into really big details of prison, there were literally prostitutes in prison that would get rented out. They had a pimp, and the pimp would rent out the prostitute to other people, and there was a whole economy on that. I had nothing to do with that in any way whatsoever, but everybody was aware that it was going on. I got to see in practice of how trading with other people makes everybody better off, and it improves everybody's standard of living. Even though it was against the prison rules to trade with people, of course people are going to trade with people. You can't stop it. And the fact that we were able to trade with everybody made everybody's life much better off within the prison. If we weren't able to trade with each other in prison would have been much more difficult and a much rougher place for everybody. So every single person there was thankful for the ability to be able to trade with other people. Another really interesting thing that I got to see there too is I had read the theories in the books of how something comes to be used as money. And it's the most commonly accepted medium of exchange because it's usable for something else becomes the money. So I got to see in prison, postage stamps became used as money because they're easy to recognize, they're durable, you can transport them easily, they don't go bad, and you can use them for mailing letters. Top ramen soups became money in prison because they don't go bad, you can transport them easily, they're easily recognizable, there's a limited supply, and you can eat them, right? And the same is true of cans of fish become money as well because you can't counterfeit them, they're easy to transport, they don't spoil, and you can eat them. So these things that have utility and these other characteristics naturally become used as money within the prison. And people are buying and selling everything using these things as money. And so when Bitcoin came along, I knew that people were going to start using it as money. So the first step was to buy a bunch of Bitcoin. The next step was to help build the tools to enable people to use it more easily as money. And so just like I saw in the prison economy, what things came to be used as money and why they became used as money. And I knew from reading the economics books, theoretically, why something came to be used as money. I knew the same thing for Bitcoin earlier than most people. So I had the book knowledge and the prison experience to show me that Bitcoin was going to be used as money. And that's why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin Cash today, because it's usable as money. And this whole idea is that something can just be a store of value all by itself without having some other use case. That's just absolute nonsense. And a bunch of people are fooled by the nonsense all over the place. And a bunch of people are fooled into thinking that the minimum wage is a good idea or that tariffs are a good idea. If you study the economics, it is a bad idea. And a lot of people think, wait a minute, the minimum wage is a good idea. No. The minimum wage doesn't guarantee anybody will be paid a certain amount. It only guarantees that people that can earn more than that amount will have a job. If people are worth less than that amount, they won't have any job at all. basically any sort of government intervention in the economy. If you study the economics, it makes the world a worse place, not a better place. That's why I love cryptocurrencies that work as peer-to-peer electronic cash so much, is because it strips government's ability to control the economy away, whereas something that's just a digital store of value. As an entrepreneur from a young age, my biggest headache in business and dealing with running a business is dealing with government issues, right? Dealing with government forms, dealing with a bunch of people that have never met and know nothing about me or my business, yet they want to violently interject themselves into the affairs of me and my customers. That's my biggest headache in life, and I want to use digital currencies to strip away their power to do that, and that makes the entire world's rate of economic growth faster than it otherwise would have been, and raises everybody's standard of living. And let's say the rate of economic growth today is 2% per year. Okay, from one year to the next year, that's great. What if we reduce the amount of government interference in the economy, and we can raise the rate of economic growth from 2% to 3% per year? Well, from this year to the next year, that's not that big of a difference. But if you compound that over 100 years, it's a huge, huge, huge difference for everyone, everywhere, all over the world. So we want to have the fastest rate of economic growth we possibly can. So if you're worried about the environment and global warming and this and that, it's not through all sorts of government control of the economy. It's through faster rates of economic growth, and then through technology we'll easily be able to suck about a bunch of CO2 out of the air, or deploy great big giant mirrors in outer space to either reflect or deflect a sun from landing on the Earth. We'll be able to control all this sort of stuff easily through economic growth, not through retarding the rate of economic growth. Imagine if we had the amount of technology that we had 500 years ago. You could barely control the environment at all. There was no air conditioning, there was no refrigeration, there were no ice cubes, there was none of any of this. The reason we have all of that today is through economic growth and the technology that enables that economic growth. Let's focus on that. Let's get the government out of the way and build the technologies to make the world a better place for all of us. Right now we can air condition and heat the inside of this building. Through better technology, we can do that for the whole planet. So let's get started, let's get the government out of the way, and let's let the businessmen and the entrepreneurs and the inventors make these technologies. And that's why cryptocurrency is so exciting, because it enables the entrepreneurs and the businessmen and the visionaries to move their capital around the world from where it's worth less to where it's worth more, to build these tools that everybody around the world values. And the politicians don't help that, they hinder that. So let's get them out of the way. If they want to send me to jail again for having made the world a better place, that's on them. They're the bad people for doing that.